of experience in this area. So, hi, Aniedi, you have our attention and you have our support.
Yeah, sure, thanks. So, um, very interesting topic. It is a topic I would have loved to sort of like present more, show a lot more examples. But I think one thing I want to do, which is almost like a lazy option, is make this as interactive as possible. Um, so, way of introduction, just to you know build on what Trust has said. My name is Aniedi. I currently work as a program manager for Google's developer communities in the US and Canada. So I lead our Google developer groups and our Google developer experts program in the US and Canada. Prior to that, I used to do almost the same job for 6.5 years ish for Google developer groups and Google developer student clubs in sub-Saharan Africa. So that's everywhere in Africa minus North Africa. Um, I think the easiest way to look at what the value of community vis-a-vis or I mean the easiest way to just really look at the value of community for developers, for individuals, for even for products is to take a look at history, right? Take a look at a personal story. I will be nothing without community. Just a little bit of personal information, which I'm never really afraid to share. Um, I turned 44 earlier this year. I joined Google, what, 7, 8 years ago. When I joined Google, I literally was 36 years old, right? And then when you look at Nigeria, you look at the world, I remember when I was coming out of school, um, and I was in my early 20s, going into my late 20s. I was almost 25, and at the time, I was struggling to get out of University of U then. And I started seeing all the jobs expecting to people to be 23 years or younger, 25 years or younger to get into all the choicy jobs. Deloitte, KPMG, Mobile, Chevron, Shell. Those are the big jobs at the time, right? And then fast forward to like, say, 10, 11 years later, when I was way past the 25, even 35 um, benchmark, so to speak. And I'm even starting to think of other sorts of goals for my life, like maybe I should join politics. I come from a middle class, relatively prominent family in my local government, and it was like people were telling me, I will just go home now and just join PDP or something, based on your dad's reputation. I mean, it might not be rich, but they will say, yeah, come and go for House of Reps or chairman or commissioner or something as simple or as silly as that. Let me put it that way. And then I get this email from nowhere that says, hey, we think you have a great profile and we would like you to come and join and lead Google's developer communities in Africa, or more like in sub-Saharan Africa. It was really very. I felt it was even like a scam mail. Like, so I was just responding, waiting for them. They will ask me for money. Let me just abuse the person that was emailing. But after a few emails back and forth, I took the person's name and put it in LinkedIn, put it in Facebook and everything. The person I was talking to who's like a recruiter, and I really found out it was genuine. But the interesting part was I knew about the role because before me, Chuka Emeka Ashigo had done the role in Nigeria, leading communities for Google in Africa for about 5 years, 6 years, and then had just recently resigned from Google and moved to Facebook to take on a relatively bigger role and also to move to the United Kingdom. Um, so at the point, it feels like there was a gap, and that's where you start seeing the power of community. Here's someone who had taken on a vague role, and I can assure you, communities will always be vague. Like there's no clear definition, there's no silver bullet. One size does not fit all. The thing that I do may not work for you. The way Google runs its community may not work for Microsoft. It may not work for a small company. It may not work for even a unicorn like Florida Wave. Like everything is so varied and so individual that there isn't like a manual or a handbook that it's a perfect one-to-one relationship. But anyway, Emeka had built this community from scratch, and sort of through Google developer groups, through events like DevFest and all these meetups, things were springing up. And as things were springing up, especially at that time, there was a lot of incentives around community. People would, maybe travel to San Francisco, would travel to Mountain View, travel to London for events or conferences. Even within Lagos and Nigeria, within Africa, people were traveling, and they were interacting and they were connecting. They were beginning to know people beyond their immediate location. So you could be located in Uyo or in Lagos or in Abuja, or in a student in Ife at the time, and within the twinkle of an eye, you receive an email, and all of a sudden, you find yourself in a place in Nairobi, you find your place in a place in Accra or in Silicon Valley, and then you just get introduced to a network of thousands of people who share the same ideas, who can connect with you, who already trust you, who validate the fact that, oh, Google found you worthy, or Facebook found you worthy, or this open source community elevated you, and so therefore you people are like-minded, irrespective of the color of your skin or where you are based. So, as a community leader, or assuming a community leadership position, and driving that primarily for a brand, driving that primarily for a company that has its own products and platforms, um, Google had created a huge demand. And I would say Emeka's departure felt like it was going to create a huge gap and a loss of opportunity and traction for Google. So when I got the email and I eventually joined Google, I would say my hiring was a bit fast tracked. Things were done quite rapidly, um, and also a little bit of my community footprint had helped me get the role. So in supporting people's growth, whether it's the growth of a community leader or what a community leader does to help the people in their communities grow, it's amazing. I keep saying that the essence of a meetup or a hub or an event or an actual very specific community is almost to act like a magnet for resources. There's so many things out there. There's so many opportunities. There are even so many links. There's so much information people know individually. Oh, I know about this. I know that this person gives this grant. I know that if you learn this course, you can get a scholarship or you can get a free coupon or a voucher. I know that if you learn this skill, you can get a job in this place. Everyone has this sort of very individual knowledge, ability, connection, and we're going around with this in quotes superpower. Some of the superpowers we can't even use. We don't even have the skills or the ability to consume them or to make the best use of them. But when you now put a community or an event, it becomes like the center of a nexus of something, and then everybody now comes there. We all know why we're coming there, and when we get to that point, we start sharing information about all the things we know that we have a common, you know, focus on. And many times when I try to discuss or explain communities, I try to always make analogies that are not just completely about tech. Because sometimes when you think of tech, it starts skewing your mind and you're thinking of codes, and you sometimes even forget the real meaning of community. Community is not a tech word. Tech is adopting a, a social construct. You know, community is a group of friends. It's a family. It's maybe people that come from the same area. Right now, I'm in San Diego, about a 2-hour flight from where I live in the US, um, and I'm here for the Akwa Ibom State Association of Nigeria um, annual convention. We This is a community of people that all come from Akwa Ibom State. They have a common heritage, and I've been in the US for almost a year. I felt homesick. I felt uncomfortable. I felt frustrated a number of times. In less than, okay, let me even start from June. In less than 9 months, I'd come back to Nigeria twice. Sometimes just to get the vibe, just to feel at home, right? This is Those are not very cheap journeys, right? My last trip, I came for Open Source Community Africa Festival because I really wanted to be there. I missed the energy, the color, the vibe of that community. It was even crucial for my own survival, my own growth. And then at that point, I came to give a talk about something I felt very passionate about, something I knew a lot of people were experiencing. But even hearing it from a me, let me just put as if I'm that big, right, was going to reinforce a lot of information. And I knew there was going to be thousands of people in there that if I gave this information to, it could encourage them, it could help them find solace in a situation they were dealing with, it could inspire some people, and it could also make some people be aware or beware of something that they're soon going to eventually encounter. It's like you're driving on the road and they tell you that there's a red light in front of you, or there's a bump in front of you, or there's a pothole, or there's going to be traffic ahead of you. It makes you plan better, right? Or someone now tells you, see that so and so road, there's always traffic in the morning, right? You need to get on a 9 a.m. flight. And the place looks like it's a 30 minutes journey. But when somebody can tell you it's not a 30 minute, it looks like a 30-minute journey. But on this particular day, or on a Monday, or on Saturdays, because they're always having a party at this particular place, you cannot leave at 8 and get there by 9. You have to leave at 6. So that's the kind of information that, in quote, I said I felt I had and I felt I could bring to Oscar Fest. And I tried to deliver with my talk around, you know, why the A in EMEA is silent and blah, 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 blah. So, stepping back and I'm giving us an analogy of what I'm doing here in the Akwa Ibom State Conference, it's a community. Everybody here comes from different backgrounds, different classes. Some people came from Nigeria. Some people have been here for years. This is the first time they're coming here. And me, I just got here. I'm trying to connect with my, in quote, my roots. I'm looking for some good afang soup, and I hope they did everything right. But like, that's a shared heritage. Another word you see that they will take from real life is ecosystem, right? And when you hear ecosystem, I mean, because you're a tech person, you may be tempted to think that ecosystem is a tech word. It's not. Of course, it's not. Of course, many of us know it's not, or maybe we will forget. So, but if you take time and forget that you're not reading biology now to pass JAM or to write an exam or to do your SATs or whatever, go and figure out what an ecosystem is and how ecosystems survive. At the simplest one, where they say human beings breathe in oxygen and then we breathe out carbon dioxide, and then plants take in the carbon dioxide and they use that with sunlight to do whether photosynthesis to make food in their leaves or their roots or their flowers, and then they give out oxygen. So you see, there's a cycle. It's give and take, give and take, give and take. If there were no plants and all of us were just breathing the air and pumping out carbon dioxide, then at some point the whole atmosphere will be filled with carbon dioxide and then we will die. So the ecosystem model or the community model is something that says you rely on me, I rely on you. I give you, you give me. Now, take a step back. When you are an organizer or a community leader, leading a community, you need to understand and realize the fact that your leadership, you can't be a community leader if there's no community. You can't lead if there's no follower. You can't lead if there's no people behind you. Your community can't grow or be successful or be reputable if people who come to your community are not growing. So you're constantly thinking of, who are my people? What do they need? What can I offer them? What do I give them, and what do I, not necessarily what do I get in return, but what do they just naturally give back to me? You know, when you talk of things about like even the community commitment call, people come, join the community, then they start volunteering in the community, then they're listening to dogs today, next year they're giving talks, then they're leading, and then they're coming around, to even sponsor, or some of them go and jackpot, and then they give you other connections to other people, to other organizations, and they help you build even more specialized community. Look at the communities that we have in Nigeria now. We have communities that are specifically for Web3, for blockchain. We have communities that are specifically for AI, for data science. Um, I say it very boldly. Many of these communities would not have existed if platforms like GDG, DevCircles, Even when For Loop was at its hottest and its biggest, it was a community that came out of the fact that, and I say this openly and clearly, even a GDG or a Google community was not providing all the necessary information, frequency, cadence, depth of events that the community needed at the time. So when it comes to community driving the growth of people, when it comes to community driving even the growth of a product or a brand, it's very essential that you are constantly thinking of what do these people need? How do I give it to them? How do I sustain the community so the community doesn't die? And how do I also evolve the community? I remember very well when we were running a lot of programs and things in the community, even in Nigeria, and we did realize that look, AI was coming, right? So we had to start thinking of how do we start introducing, things like, AI related information, or whether it was AI in Firebase or ML in Firebase, whether it was pure AI, whether it was a TensorFlow roadshow, whether it was even looking at the companies or communities like AI Saturdays that were doing something amazing that I knew that Google was not in the position to do, or we didn't have the latitude to do. And how do we support those communities? And then even at the base of many of those communities, like you talk about GDG, you talk about AI Saturdays, or you talk about data science, you still have things like the Python communities, right? The core base language, Java user groups, you know, um, and then it's sort of like the people that from there build on what they know, and they're able to help build other communities and other specialized communities. So, in a nutshell, when you say supporting a community or a community being supported, or thinking around how do you sustain, how do you keep people coming to the community, I think support is just natural. It's almost like trying to define something that say something is deliciously sweet. No, no, they're already there. The whole essence of community is support. Look at your family, your dad, your mom, or your uncles, the ones that know their work, shall, aunties, and then the kids, and then in quotes, when you grow older, the kids are supposed to support the parent. So the unit, the general unit of the community is just supporting people. And I said, look very clearly at most of the most successful or apparently successful young developers in Nigeria. It's just community, right? The things I know, the places I have been to, the evidence I can share with you, even things that are under NDA that I'm not supposed to disclose or I can't disclose, I can tell you exactly what to do or what options to consider, even if I can't tell you why, because why violates my pact with whether Google or anybody that I work for. So people ask, why am I going for events? Meet up. I say you have to find the right balance and you have to understand the reason why you're going there, right? When you go for an event, in all honesty, it's not the content of the talk that is the biggest benefit. When you commune, when you jump on a call like this, sometimes it's not even what is being said that is so important. First of all, just looking at the people that care about the same thing that you care for, people that you know also gave up something on a Saturday night. I mean, it's night for you, it's day for me. To plug into this starts giving you a sense of who's like-minded, who can I work with, who can I partner, who can I do stuff with, who can I share my idea with. So we say the conversations on the sidelines or in the coffee tables or even in the restrooms at conferences are more important than even the conference talks. Yeah, you can watch them on YouTube. Okay, yeah, in the conference talk, you can ask the speaker a question directly and probably he will answer you. Maybe he will not even answer you. Maybe he will defer you. Maybe we'll say, see me later. Let's take this offline. So maybe some people are even more diligent when you ask them a question about a video they put it on their YouTube page or or a blog post that they wrote and then they respond to you. So maybe sometimes even in reality, Meetups, going there to meet the speaker or listen to the speaker live may not be a better option. I think it is a better option, but no worries. Let's move on. So, in terms of community, why should a community exist? Why should you go out there and create a community? I don't really subscribe to creating a community just for the sake of creating a community. But I'd rather have too many communities than no community, because when you have too many communities, eventually communities will merge, some will die, some will rise, people will get a chance to experience even that whole thing of people think that, oh, a community leader has so much power, he's doing everything by himself, he's getting so much benefit from Google or Intel or from IBM or Facebook or Africa Stock. It's not really like that. So there's a lot of work here. And I'm dealing with a couple of issues, even here that I came into North America, where if you don't have the right DNA, you don't have the right purpose, you don't have the right reasons why you're doing this, I'm sorry, you will struggle at this job or in this role. You would either do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, rub people off the wrong way. I'll give you a perfect example of myself. I can be very abrasive. Some people can even say I have anger management issues. I can be very reactive. I'm a person of conviction. When I look at something and I'm convinced I'm doing the right thing or I'm in the right place or maybe I'm not really ready to change my mind. I want to take an action first before someone gives me a reason to take a step back and reconsider what I did. I just go ahead and do it. But the one thing you can never deny about my community sort of commitment, whatever I do, the message, however I deliver it, you know it comes from a genuine place. It's easy. I'm in the US, I'm in San Diego. I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning, got to the airport at 5 a.m., took a flight, got to San Diego at 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m., right? I have a talk on stage in person in 36 minutes, which is why I said this call must start at 11 a.m. my time, 7 p.m. your time. It's not hard for me to cancel. I'm supposed to be, in quotes, enjoying myself. Okay, let me show you a view of where I am. This is the Bay of San Diego. See beach, see cruise, it's a hotel, everything. Why do I take out my time and leave the event venue and say, okay, I want to be on this call? It's where your heart is, right? It's me seeing tons of people who are even more qualified than me to have this opportunity and privilege, but they may need a little bit of encouragement because on their community journey, they may even be finding it difficult to support themselves. They probably even want to give up, want to change roles. They want to ask how big is the market. After all, Google only employs one person. Maybe Microsoft even employed two. They even fire this other person. So, as a community manager, shouldn't I just go and focus on my coding or my this or my that and that? Okay, fine. Valid point of view. But if you put your heart and your natural DNA in community, in really thinking about your people, I know there's an article that you can Google, the 7 P's of community, right? But that's not what we want to talk about. But like I always when that article was brought to my attention, I always urge people to go read that article, the 7 P's of community. It's about what's the purpose, what's the place, what's the policies, and there's a number of things. Okay, you're going to give me a little bit of leeway. I think they're calling me for the dress rehearsal for the presentation. So, what I would just do is I will pause this call briefly. If you have any questions for me, because I know I haven't talked about programs and products, but that's pretty simple. Even in programs and products, it's really people that is the most important thing. When people come to me and say they want Google to sponsor this, sponsor my event, or they want to do, I'm like, you may get it all wrong. Being careful, this is recorded because there's really nothing like Google. We don't have a sponsorship department, right? You've got people in different positions, ecosystem, community, program manager, GDG, open source program manager, um, ads, YouTube, all these other people. Google feels like a company that has like 100 startups inside, and you have like 100, 200,000 staff, and it feels like there's like, I don't know, 20,000 heads of departments leading different teams. So when you now want something from, in quote, big brother Google or big G, you have to reach out with a some sort of value to a person at Google who cares about what you're doing, and then who can now take it upon themselves to go and look for the resources, the approvals to get you what you want. So if you see Google sponsoring Open Source Community Africa Festival, it's because somebody cares about open source and maybe communities and Africa, and then that person can take it upon himself to navigate all the difficulties of unlocking resources for Oscar Fest. And it also may be based on a relationship that could have been existed for 5 or 10 years. And the person running the community has been consistent, and the Googler on the other end has seen that consistency, and I can now bet that okay, I will go and hustle for this money. I'll go and ask someone to make this budget allocation, but I do it based on trust that the person I am dealing with, talking to, handing this over to, not go fall my hand. The person will do it at the right quality, even if there are glitches or there's not going to be misappropriation. We're not going to come and hear a story of somebody took the money and went to go and buy, you know, a Lamborghini or something funny or a house. No. So it's really about relationships. So when you say community, I say keep dialing back. Community usually is a group of people coming together, shared goal, supporting each other. It's like win-win relationship. It's give and take and give, paid forward and backward. And that's the whole essence of its existence. When you look at products, take a step away from even like pure developer products. Look at products like maybe Google Maps or programs like local guides, or some of you are involved in things like crowdsource. There's a feedback loop. When I describe my role at Google, we say my job at Google was to drive awareness, advocacy, adoption, and feedback for Google tools. One of the reasons why I talk about communities is that, and how communities support products, is that it's very difficult to market to developers. You know, developers, if you want to market to them, you can market to their Dorime, Idon, and their Faji side. Where to eat. This is the best place to be. These are the finest clothes to wear. This is the car to drive. You can use adverts. Like in America, they say the Super Bowl advert. Super Bowl is the biggest event. People buy an ad in the Super Bowl for 30 seconds for millions of dollars during the halftime show. You can't advertise or market like that to a developer. And then the person will just say, okay, I'm no longer using GitHub, I'm going to start using GitLab. I'm going to switch from this to Gitpod. I'm not going to use this, I'm going to move from AWS to Azure via marketing or advert or billboard. It doesn't work that way. So the way to be able to build loyalty is to show people you care. You offer them something, it's not an incentive, it's not a bribe. You give them something that they really want or they're trying to figure out, and they give you what you really need most. So if you have anything to do with startups or this, that feedback, user experience, user testing, um, where you're getting things wrong, commendation on what people want and what you don't want. You can't figure it out upfront. Too. A lot of people with all the resources could not build a social network. People could not. So it's not like you do something and you're the smartest or you have the smartest people in the room. You need to hear and listen to your people to get what they want. So with products, community contributions are insane. Look at a website like Stack Overflow. Do you know that's a community? And you think Stack Overflow would be that big if people were not trying to help out? And we've had um, some of the most fantastic, what they call it, um, epiphanies about things like Stack Overflow, where you someone writes about a problem, and then you go and you answer it, and then 5 years down the line you have that same problem or that same issue, and then you go and search on Stack Overflow for that issue, and you come across your own answer. Or people say they wrote a blog post about something, how to configure this, and that. And 3 years down the line, you're trying to configure that same thing, and then you go on Google to search, and then you come up with the blog post that you wrote as the answer to that. Do you know that is community supporting yourself? So there's a give and take. And look at the size of Stack Overflow. Look at the size of. I mean, everything is changing now with this so-called large language models and ChatGPT and BAN. But it's not going to be that tectonic. It's not going to just shift immediately. And there's a place for those things in how we as community managers and how people perceive things and how events will be run and how tutorials will be written. There's a lot of research and um, brainstorming going about how would ChatGPT affect community, right? How will it affect events and knowledge gathering? You know, one of the things you get in the community is you ask questions that are very specific to you, and someone dips into their wealth of knowledge, experience, opinion, and they specifically respond based on what you ask them, not just a general, here is how to bootstrap a React app, right? You may be asking, how do I bootstrap a React app in a fintech setting for this, that. And you find out that you may be talking to somebody who works in, I don't know, Bitcoins or further wave or Paystack, and that's the person's doing. So you sort of like feel like you get an answer from that person that is more specific and more relevant to you. Guess what? We're at an inflection point in the internet. The internet, the world, technology is going crazy. We've got better than ChatGPT now. You can ask questions and you get intelligent answers and a few silly answers, but the technology is getting better and you can ask follow-up questions. And unlike those tech bros or whatever you call them that have clicks, these tools don't get upset with you when you ask a question and you ask another question and you disturb them 100 times a day. It's a different ballgame entirely. How would that affect the way we share knowledge, acquire knowledge in the community? How will it? I don't know. So ultimately, let me tell you what I think is the big thing about communities. As a community leader, really do that 7 P's of community and try to figure out what your community wants and serve them more of what they want than what you want. Number two, community pays. Me, it pays me in cash and trips and travel and all those, pepper them things. Good job. Community pays. It pays. It pays in many other ways. Many of you who are in communities now have contacts and relationships with people locally, internationally, and globally that if you need a recommendation, they will write for you because they know what you can do as a community person, as a community contributor, a community leader, a community starter. You have credibility, you have leadership experience, you have organizational skills. So if you ask somebody to do a recommendation or a referral letter for you, it's not hard. And the person is not even doing it with half heart. The person is doing it with his full mind because he knows what you're capable of. So community pays. There are some jobs that are only shared or are gotten in the community. I'm sorry, yeah. I practically almost only hire from the community. When I want to work on some of my field projects or my upcoming projects, the people I can trust are the people in the community. I know they can work for free, not really, sure. But I know where their heart is. I know they can put in their energy, and I know they can do something even when it doesn't even make sense. Because that's what it feels like sometimes being a community manager. Then they pay you, how much do they collect them? Because they could just send you one small t-shirt or one swag, then they make it they do anyhow. You know? I saw a tweet, I made a joke last week that somebody was rushing into the bus and was fighting with the conductor. But why you they do like this now? Move, move, move. Why? And more or less the conductor asked him, Madam, this was where they rush go. How much did they even pay himself? And the person just thought about what the conductor said and just calmed down. Maybe it could have been our salary is just like 25K or 30K. Even 100K in this civil economy is not any money. 300K, sir. How many liters of coin go buy? Conductor asked, I said, Madam, this one where they rush. This job where they rush, how much did they pay? So, I mean, community pays. It always pays forward. I've seen people come to me and tell me, Oga, I am where I am today because of what you did for me. That one is even tough. I know I did something for some people. Some people say because of what you said. Just what I said has transformed their lives. And they come and they pay better pay, not like many of you on this call. They come and pay cash, like, hey, Oga, this is my title, my first fruit, or let me take your children and go and, flex them small, right? Then there are people that, I wanted to say one more thing. So community pays in cash, community pays in kind. There's the people that said, okay, I said, some I did some things for them, some I said some things to them. Some people just say, like, okay, I'm who I am today because of who you are today. I just look up to you, you know. Sometimes I post things on my status. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes even my wife is like, "Why are you posting everywhere? Everybody knows where you are. Why are you forming like you are traveling? Why are you putting your pixel on your this and that?" I'm like, I do have my audience. There are two of them. Some of them is to pepper them, just to insult them and everything. But some other people are actually being very inspired. Some other people are actually being extremely very inspired. Somebody, there was a time I didn't post for 1 week. Somebody came out to my DM and was, "Oga, please update your WhatsApp now. You dey inspire us. We dey see America through your eyes. We know say we go soon dey there." And that was a fact. Sometimes when I do it, sometimes I do it out of arrogance, but I also do it out of inspiration. And I know my audience. The ones that want to, they should go and listen to Davido's album. You know, they you were wishing me bad. You said so in the phone from one day we go see price comes before you fall. And they wait. Even when I fall, the kind of fall I go fall from like 10th floor to ninth floor. I don't go fall reach ground or reach 6 feet deep. When I go 6 feet deep, I don't die. My work is done. That's a different kind of fall, right? So community pays forward, community supports people. The whole essence of community support. The whole essence of community is the people in there, leadership, followership, the right kind of intentions, where you put your heart. And if you build a community around your product, look, do you know, a community is a newsletter. A newsletter is a community. We've all been seeing all those Okpe from Carrywise, this from that, gift from Bumper. And that is community. You may be looking at it like a joke, but it's a community. People are building a community around the product. You start recognizing things, you start getting familiar, you start feeling like you belong, you start having an affiliation, you start remembering, becomes top of mind for you. That is community. There was a fantastic talk I listened to one time at the DevRel conference um, in Google, internal conference. And they talked about how a GitHub repo can be a community. The maintainers, the pull requests. I mean, for some big projects, everybody knows that open source is a community. But do you know that just managing a repo, if you are the owner, bringing another person on board to have rights to approve, pull requests, to bring maintainers, the people that even just come and they will never comment or they will never say anything, they will always just keep using it and using your product. They can even take your open source product and go and put it in a paid product and be making tons of money as an individual or a company, and they don't give anything back. Those same people come and tell them to sponsor, and they won't sponsor. They won't do anything. So they're taking. So you will find situations like that where people are just taking from a community. It does happen. It happens. But that's community. You won't say because of one bad egg or because of some people that don't give back or because of people that came into GDG, they don't blow, they're abroad now, they know they send anybody. Because of that, you will stop doing community. No, it doesn't work that way. So if you are on the community business, if it's a side hustle, is the role, is something you're considering, my simple take on you is that it does pay, it supports you, it provides you strength, it helps you build capacity, organization, leadership skills. These are invaluable things. Like, I know the way I look at my GDG organizers, GDSC organizers, community leaders, Oscar organizers, product dive organizers. The eye I look at them and the way I speak about them when the opportunity comes or when somebody asks me, so what do you think of this person? It's very different. And I can tell you that in some places, my recommendation, that my opinion carries a lot of weight, like a lot, like a lot. I've seen people not hired because I said, if I was you, I'd be on the fence on this decision. I would never tell somebody not to hire you. I'm like, oh, well, that's up to you, Sha. You know, saying that your company and your role, and you will know whether you can like hire the person or not. And there's some people that say they want to hire the guy, oh, more, you better catch him now before it's too late. Or like, forget. Whether the guy gets CV, the guy no get CV, or he get degree, no get, forget the guy. See this person go, you go do the work. At least I've had that on 2 or 3 occasions. I've also been in situations where it is venture capital, where somebody said, okay, can you vouch for this person? I'm like, I don't see anything wrong with the person. And then the person that I was talking to said, you mean say you know if you vouch for the person? I said, you not say that. I said, no, don't worry. You've said enough by not saying anything. And some people say, okay, no sponsor this. Why you not go sponsor him now? And then find money, give that guy. Make you bros run that thing, run down for him, run down for them. They go deliver. So being a community, people are watching you. You're standing at the top of a pyramid. You're a leading light. You're like a lighthouse. The careers, the opportunities of a lot of people depends on you. Recently, I've been doing a tech day kind of event where I go to places like Eket and Ikotabasi, Ikotekwene. I went to Shalanga to do tech day. If I tell you from those events, I spent a considerable amount of my personal money. If I tell you some of the success stories from those events, you'll be shocked. There's even a success story from the last one I did on June 24, during that my Oscar Fest trip from Eket Tech Day. From the Eket Tech Day event I went to do, I've hired 3 people who were volunteers at that event. 3 people. I may not be paying them the best salaries or anything. I've had 3 people. And so many more who even came to me and said, because of what I did that day, other people have been doing this for me. And then some of the people I partnered with came and said, they're running a summer camp now because of the event that day and the way it was packaged and the fact that I referenced them at the event. They have over 100 kids signed up for a paid summer, this same summer camp, STEM camp. Community first. Okay, I would really have loved to take questions, but I know they're looking for me right now. My panel starts in 15, 30 minutes. You check my Twitter page. I think that's my pinned post. It's this Aquarium thing, and it's a tech summit. And this means a lot to me. And even just being here for the past 2 hours, seeing the people that have come in, a lot of them, even like Nigerian indigenes abroad, who I'm not sure know as much as they need to know about tech and community and programs and opportunity. I'll be a bit sensitive here. Um, I live in a primarily Indian community called Milpitas. And in the Bay Area, I've seen the demographics of the Bay Area. But the Asians, let me put it that broad category, Asians, Indians, Koreans, Chinese, what they've done for themselves and how they've used community to get into tech and all the top companies and how they're building bigger communities around themselves. And that's why it's not a shock that of all the top companies, almost all of them have Indian CEOs. Let's see what happens to Twitter or X. In fact, Twitter at some point, from Jack, he went to an Indian CEO before Elon came. And who knows, the person running X or Twitter after Elon might end up being Indian. There's a community bond that they're using to create a shared prosperity. Something that is not very common in Nigeria, but is natural to almost every one of us on this call. Shared prosperity. When I was doing the tech, I said I've gone to the buffet table. I've filled my plate. I've eaten everything I want to eat. I've if I'm budging. As I'm leaving the table, I'm telling you like I'm gonna check that table, food they there. Mogbomoya. So I'm gonna enter that street. Oh, one bed is shelly, the jollof rice mad, the amala is it's crazy. I've eaten, I'm bellyful, I'm tired. How much can I eat? How many websites can I build? I can't even do this my role for 2 different companies. I can't. I don't even have the capacity. So I just tell other people about it and say, try it out. Hopefully it works for you. So I'm extremely sorry that I won't be able to take calls. It's already 13 minutes. later. Maybe we can follow up this conversation on the Twitter thread if necessary, or we can do a space, or we can do question and answer under that thread. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. I hope you have some perspective about how communities are essential to supporting the growth of people, both the leaders, members, volunteers, contributors, and that ultimately these people's support translates into a shared prosperity for a group of people, for a product, for even a program. Programs are just long running projects and programs and products. So hope you guys had a great one. And don't be discouraged about what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Um, if it's full time, if it's part time, if it's something you aspire to, it's a pretty interesting space, pretty interesting career, and helps you build and grow your network. And you know what they say about your network is your network. So, gotta go, and all the best.
All right. Thank you very much, Aniedi. Thank you for your time. I know you have to go now. So yeah, that was really fun and insightful. I think I picked a thing or two from what the things you just said, and